Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hear from Tom.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. You have to read all the introductory information.
This meeting is being recorded. The listing of matters are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law.
Also, the meeting ID passcode, people want to join.
For those wishing to join on Zoom, the meeting ID number is 852-4143-6181, passcode 732368. To join by phone, telephone number is 929-205-6099. Standard verbiage that all the committees in town will be using going forward. I was saying I had not heard from Tom. I did send him an email and send him a text. So I don't know, maybe he's coming later. I was hoping maybe he was on Zoom, but we do have enough for quorum, obviously. The Serpent representative, Lizette, is not going to be able to make it tonight. She's on vacation, but she did send out a draft. You got a copy, yeah. So the first item of business is to discuss that draft and tweak it, see what general comments you had. Mike and I had met with Lizette earlier in the month and gone over her first draft and gave her some feedback. So this is a second draft. And in fact, I edited her second draft a bit because John and I had the opportunity to speak. And he thought it would be a good idea to initially talk about two surveys, town-based survey and then a chamber-based survey for the business event. And we're just going to combine those. So one town-based survey. So I did throw a couple questions in there too about the chamber, about SCORE. I think I had another question in his first draft from last month or the month before when we first started talking about this. But either way, we can just review this and then get some feedback to Serpent. They'll be planning to stick it up on a website once they get it finalized, and we have a date set for the launch, and then we can publicize it on, we now have our own Facebook page and LinkedIn. We have to get set up on it, but at least we have approval for it.
Great.
But we can also just publish it on all the social media platforms in town. I can just read through these, or people have had a chance to scan them and have questions. Let me just start by just reading through these one by one. Does that work for everybody, or way to go?
Can you repeat that, please? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's just my hearing or it's your voice.
It's I have a soft voice, yeah. This is the second, or actually now third draft with Serpent, these survey questions.
That part.
So I was saying, do we just want to walk through the questions one by one and get people's feedback? Do people want to take a few minutes and just read through it and see what they think? And then we can talk about any general concerns people have. What's the best way people want to proceed here? Welcome to just read through them one by one, if that's what you want to do. It's something like 20. Okay. So the first section, and I don't know if this is actually the order that they're going to be laid out in Serpent. These are the questions, but how they lay them out in terms of what's first, second, third, et cetera. But the first section will just be for demographics for town residents. So how long have you lived in Dayton? And it will be a multiple choice, including I do not live in Dayton, because there may be people who go on the website who take the survey. They're not residents. Maybe they're business owners in town, but they're not residents. what area of Dayton do you live in? And that's mainly because of, I live in North Dayton, so I'm like 2 miles away from supermarket, pharmacy, all kinds of Taunton services. Somebody who lives, elsewhere in Dayton might be a good 6-7 miles from or further from the nearest supermarket, for example, or, other conveniences. So if people are having different opinions about, what's important in the town, you might find that it's because of where they live. So they have access to services or they don't because of, they're a little bit more remote, so. You own a business in Dayton, yes or no? And then if you answer yes, then there's a few questions that'll come enabled or pop up about, your business. This, how long have you owned your business? Anywhere from 0 to 16 years or more.
There should be.
So this is
Online, yeah. Right. Why did you choose to locate in Dayton? Live in Dayton, that's where their employee base was, quality of the school district, available commercial space or other. And for all of these that have other, Lizette said there would be a space for them to write in something and not just check other and we're wondering what else is going on, but they can say what that reason might have been. Do you own or rent your facility? What type of business do you have? And Lizette said she would just use what's in the reference Dayton industry, which is that our zoning guideline reference of different types of business? Is that what she's referring to, I think? The Dayton reference industry profile.
AB, right?
So it was in the profile that the SEP had provided that really went through all the types of it was that whole long web page of profiles of what was included on industrial zones.
Okay, yeah.
The business zones is zone up on William Street as well. That she profiled for us about a month
Right,
ago.
okay. John?
I was going to say that the chamber has had a list from our, the survey that we had. So if you guys need
Need a standard list?
try to reconcile it,
Okay, yeah.
okay, thank you.
Any employees do you have? What challenges do you experience as a business owner? And probably we should say in Dayton. I mean, they can have all kinds of challenges as a business owner. We're trying to narrow it down to what's the town-based one. So maybe say in Dayton. And those would be lack of qualified employees, limited town water infrastructure, limited town sewer, permitting and licensing, available commercial property, which we know is tight, commercial taxes and fees, none of the above or other. Yeah, okay. How can Dayton better support small business development? And this would just be an open-ended question. Yeah, I know the lettering's off, sorry. Okay. Are you aware of the Economic Development Incentive Program in Dayton to provide tax incentives to Dayton businesses?
Could we elaborate a little bit on that? Because I don't know of any.
The EDIP program is a program offered by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The local version of that is the TIF program. They both go hand in hand, the tax increment financing program. So one really informs the other. Like if the town was to make available our TIF or a tax increment financing agreement to a local business that's expanding or locating to Dayton, that would also make them eligible to participate in the Commonwealth's EDIP program.
So maybe we could have either a pop-up or a link under the words EDIP to
The business guide is listed in the business.
yeah, to some section in our business guide that says what it's all about, and, yeah. Okay. Should we say TIF in there as opposed to EDIP, or doesn't matter?
I think we can ask separate, like if they prefer the local version or the state version. I mean, basically one and the same.
Okay,
The business guide definitely refers to EDIP, I know that. TIP didn't ring a bell with me, but
okay, all right.
thank you.
Is it TIP or TIF?
TIF,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, TIF.
This is because, the next one, number 12, is because we're combining this with what John was planning to do at the business event. So what is your impression of the Taunton Area Chamber of Commerce? Are you aware of it? Have you tried it? Letter D, I would be interested in learning more. So are you aware of SCORE? And maybe this is another one where we could have a link or pop up to what is SCORE,
Absolutely.
which is something John's very involved in, which does free or low cost mentoring, tools, training, all kinds of things. If for business, like just business owners in Dayton.
If you don't mind, under the SCORE,
Yeah,
usually a SCORE would be a client, not a member. So I think they'd say try
okay,
SCORE's services or something like that, because SCORE offers these mentoring services.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll change membership to services. But in terms of just like gauging what's going on with existing business owners, I think that, are we, there important things that we should be asking that we're not? Oh, that's not SERP, but that was me
No, I-
putting it in here, but okay,
I have
thanks.
a
Yeah,
question about this column here where it says conditions.
yeah, that
Change
was,
goal and,
that was certain Lizette added, like, why are we asking this question?
okay,
So some of them are like, we're just trying to get fact-checking, like, who are you, what do you do, you know,
Okay.
what's your demographics? Others are things like, where she says policy or program, it's like, so maybe we can change something, whether it be zoning or, you know, or permitting or something that we can change, like, and that's where when she put permitting, that's what I think she meant, policy program.
are we keeping that as a part of the
No,
online?
that was just,
Oh, yeah,
That won't be seen,
yeah, those are really for internal use, like,
okay.
oh, but yeah, so we know what type of answer we're trying to be informed about.
okay. So the next section is back to the residents, just kind of gauging general economic development, what they're looking for. So what types of businesses should Dayton encourage? It says pick up to 3. Small business, home-based entrepreneurs, agricultural, large commercial, co-op, other. I think Ken and Lizette kind of went around about how valuable this question, like how much information this question actually gets us. Like, okay, what would we do with, I mean, I guess it's good to know. I'm not sure we would. And I was just thinking like, you know, you don't want to ask 50 questions and we're nowhere near that, but you know, the fewer the better, but I think we just decided to leave that in. Because people have some opinions about like its relative value.
I had,
Future envisioning, you know, what we want to see in Dayton. We could refer back to
Right,
this survey and say, you know, people really weren't interested in seeing a large grocery store or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Last meeting, would it be appropriate to add waterfront or water recreation type businesses?
This question is kind of like big categories, like small agricultural, big commercial. So I think we could, I'm just trying to think, where would that best go? Actually,
Recreational, number 15.
additional services. But he's talking about waterfront development.
Right.
Let me just make a note of that. As we go through the questions, let's figure out where that would be the best place to insert that.
Okay, thank you.
And then specifically service businesses, like what additional service businesses would you like to have? Like grocery, farming, restaurant, convenience store, professional, financial, dental, gym, fitness, other, none. What are your primary reasons for encouraging additional growth? For John? Yeah.
On the service businesses, would like available, like more commercial rental space or, like lack of maybe like available office space, would that be something would that be a service business?
Technically, it is. I tend to think of services like consumer-based, and yeah, it is consumer-based. It's like you need a space for your business.
Okay,
That would fall under probably professional financial.
okay. Yeah, I was just wondering because, I was thinking that, someone might say, geez, there's not a lot of available office space. The chamber was looking for office space. There's not a lot of office space in the area.
Well,
Under business portion, so
Yeah, I
people
think
would be looking for that.
it looks like a business-to-business service, so maybe,
Okay.
Available commercial property is under number 9.
yeah, what challenges do you experience?
Do you think that's important to know, for us to know, I guess?
I do. Oh, available commercial/office,
Yeah,
pretty, on question number 9?
yeah, somewhere, if we could have that maybe as a choice?
Yeah, okay.
right now, I know of one particular person that's got a 15,000 square foot area for lease or rent or whatever, so I don't think that would, be great office space or anything like that. So
Okay,
Got a question, Mike?
So on 9, we have available commercial property.
Yes, yeah.
Up E.
yeah,
He was suggesting maybe we change that to available commercial/office
yeah, it does, that's fine. That,
space as opposed to property. Okay, space, yeah.
because if they select that, then that gives us a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And to Joe's point, because of that issue that you just brought up, we were very particular about including E in there as well, because we know that's needed, and we just wanted to gauge, we wanted to really solidify that as a challenge we have.
Yeah.
We were on 16. There are questions for the residents. What are your primary reasons for encouraging additional growth? The options: decrease dependency on residential tax base, create additional services, create job opportunities. No business or growth is needed, which some people will probably say, and other, so where they can just write in something. So, what impacts concern you about business expansion in Dayton? Physical appearance of the town, noise pollution, traffic, encroachment on open space. Will encourage more people to move to Dayton, other, or no concerns.
How about sewer expansion?
So this would be like, what are your concerns? So it would be like the cost of sewer expansion?
Oh, lack, cost of,
Of infrastructure, right, improvements.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
cost of specifically sewer infrastructure?
Yeah, infrastructure improvements to support business or something.
Yeah, I would
like that.
say just infrastructure, because water is just as big of an issue.
Okay,
Regular infrastructure, and so that could also include roadway infrastructure as well.
okay.
The word cost So along with the infrastructure.
Yeah, so cost of infrastructure improvements would be the other. Yeah. Okay. They could, although that's kind of open space, but I could.
Yeah, but
we
that
could
is a good
put that,
point.
yeah.
I think that may be a concern.
Was looking at a couple other town surveys in, actually not just Massachusetts, all over the place, but where they were like up kind of rural, about the size of Dayton. The number one reason that people always said they don't want more business is it might encourage more people to move here, and they don't like that. So
Oh, yeah.
that's probably going to be our number one, too.
You're going to hear the same thing in Dayton?
Yeah.
Well, let's hope they don't answer on number 16, no business growth is needed, then we're all out of a job.
The tax rate will continue to be high.
Number 18, how can Dayton attract high-wage employers? Water infrastructure, I should probably say like improvements, but these are all improvements. Should we just say the word improvements after each one of these? Water infrastructure improvements, sewer improvements, roadway improvements? Okay.
The only thing on this I worry about, I mean, when we went through it the first time, I didn't have this concern, but looking at it again, like with the answers or the options that we provide in question 18, we almost would create the perception that in order to a business that is going to cost the town money, based on the need for water and sewer improvements. So, I mean, I was actually thinking of adding, or proposing 2 more bullets to just kind of water the cost impact down a little bit. One option would be tax incentives, because with tax incentives, we would be able to attract high-end employers or high-wage employers. And then number 2 is streamlined permitting. Because if we have streamlined permitting, I just know, we all probably hear the feedback from some businesses or entities that, okay, they make it, they make it great through the planning board, for example, Joe. But then they get held up in other, in other spheres, where permits are also required. So, and it would be good to really gauge if that, if that is, if people view that as a concern.
Would people view that as a concern, or would businesses view that as a? Is that like the business coming in has concerns about access?
So, if residents, number one, I would want to, through the tax incentives, really gauge how residents feel about the prospect of offering tax incentives to expanding and growing businesses, what businesses would locate here, because, if we go down that road, which we have done before, and we have, and as we know, we have another business looking as well. Ultimately, we have to go to town meeting to have the TIF agreement approved. So, it would be good to take the pulse of our residents to see, how supportive they are of these agreements in the first place. So, we can, have that in our understanding, I guess.
What I thought you were going to say was, it kind of draws a link, like somehow without massive infrastructure improvements and/or incentives, you're not going to get high-wage employers. The question is how does Dayton attract high-wage employers? And then it's like, spend a bunch of money on infrastructure and
But I don't want that paradox to be perceived that way, is why.
Yeah.
So if we add additional
Tax incentives, I think, sounds great.
We consider not asking this question.
I was actually with Serpent, I was in favor of not asking it at all, but, you know, Mike and Serpent thought it had a lot of value, so, I mean, or had some value, so, but personally, I think it just like raises a bunch of red flags. I would almost want to ask those questions about TIF, particularly since that's something the town's gonna have to vote, but maybe not a specific question around.
Really, what you're asking is, would you be in favor as a resident to do the following in order to attract high-wage employee?
Or just,
employers?
not even high wage,
Or
just cut that word.
Yeah, that's
I-
the question altogether, wouldn't be the end of the world.
I feel as though it's
A weird question.
Yeah. So if we, maybe another way we could balance it is looking at availability of public services or increased public services, like, schools and, we're investing in a library and that sort of thing. So that's another thing, right, that I would think that wage earners, high wage earners are looking for more public services or maybe and public services. And how about like public spaces or increased natural availability of natural resources or something like that?
So we actually have a question coming up, question 22, that says, how can Dayton support business development? And I don't actually like any of the options, and I think Mike thought some of them were like red flags too. Maybe we can keep that question in when we get to 22 and change the options.
Yeah, okay.
Good point.
Okay, all right, so let's do that.
what did we decide on each?
So I think 18 we're going to scratch, and we're going to combine it and just update question 22 when we get that. The next question, which will be kind of laid out like a matrix of Route 44, County Main Street, William Street in the business zoned area, and then followed by another question about any other areas you can think of. But what section of town would you like to see increased business activity by the following business types? So they can just check off yes or no in any of these boxes along 44, County Main, William Street, professional financial, retail, healthcare, light manufacturing. And healthcare, I think Serpent was thinking more like, not like doctor's offices, but like labs and pharmaceutical places. Maybe pharmaceuticals not a good, given our history, but, medical industries, not necessarily just doctor's office. Construction trade, mixed use, campus / dispensary. I know those are two different things, but,
Should we make a slash on C, healthcare / medical industry? Just,
actually, they had healthcare / labs. which I thought
Or
was a little-
labs.
I thought that was confusing, though.
Oh.
So we scratched labs. Healthcare just.
because healthcare does make you think of
doctor's
doctors.
office.
Well, it makes me think of a doctor.
Having been on this from the get-go, the one thing that was always brought up was of a survey I believe we did right in the very beginning. People were coming out with, they want to see a pharmacy. Elderly people wanted to see a pharmacy in town. And the pharmacies that I had the opportunity to talk to one of them, there's not enough of a population to do that. And it's not that far for anyone to go to. But at the same time, I looked into Berkeley. They use the Dayton Post Office. Somerset uses the Dayton Post Office. Rehoboth uses the Dayton Post Office. Taunton uses the Dayton Post Office. So what's happening here is it's very, very accessible to them. Parking is easy, getting in and out, it was easy. So I don't know that there is a way to convince any of these pharmaceutical companies to try to do that. And it coming from me, it's probably, you guys know the reason why. It's not the right thing. But at the same time, I think it's very, very doable. And I think a lot more business would be attracted to Dayton if something like that.
Back on,
Population is growing too, so it may be different
Absolutely.
demographic than when you had first.
So, I mean, I'm,
on 15, we did ask specifically about pharmacy. That was one of the options about what services you'd like to have in town.
I'm sure unless it's changed, but I don't think it has.
I'm sorry?
I think that's one of the things that's gonna be coming in.
I stopped going there.
Yeah, it could be a big change.
Well,
There are still small,
Iron Surplus contacted CVS on the corner of Main and 138, and CVS did a count traffic, and they said it wasn't high enough for
that's
Exactly,
property, actually.
exactly.
your property.
Yeah, that's why me bringing this up, it's kind of
Yeah, that was years ago, when.
yes, it was. This is going back
Traffic has increased so much,
10, 15 years ago,
at
that,
a different rate.
Would be a great location for a CVS.
Yep.
Or any pharmacy.
Mhm.
So I think one of the intents of question 19 in particular as well, I mean, we as a town, we can only really do so much to attract. It's really, I mean, it's really up to the landowners, you know, and the developers as well. But I think the intent of 19 is to really, you know, gauge the appetite from a zoning point of view of where our residents would like to see different, you know, different types of usage. So as we go, you know, when we come up with an economic development plan that may recommend zoning changes, you know, I mean, we can make sure based on this in the matrix that, you know, okay, well, you know, understanding that, you know, I mean, in the allowed uses, you know, on let's just say on 138, people want to see this, but not this. You know, then we have the opportunity to, you know, definition, if you will, in our zoning bylaw for that use, but really leave it up, really, unfortunately, to the market. You know, and to landowners to use that zoning bylaw then as a tool, you know, to attract, so.
but when I built the post office, I went through some serious issues with the town itself. They did not, the people that were on the planning board misled me on what was going on. And I don't know if you guys if I ever said this to you guys, but hopefully you don't mind, but I'll say it again. A public building may be placed on a residential lot because all of 138 was not mixed use. It was residential for the first 250 or 300 feet, and then it was industrial beyond that.
Wow.
Okay? Since I've been on the planning board, we changed that it's mixed use. This corner here was set up as village overlay. Although some of the people that owned that corner decided, no, I don't want that on my property. After the whole thing was done, then they came back and said, yeah, I would like it to be that. Well, it's too late, we already did it.
Right.
But I think 138 is, in my opinion, the place for business. Because it's near the town hall, it's got the sewer, it's got all of those things. What can we change? I don't know, we've tried a lot of different things. But I think that's what should be done. I know that there are some business already in this area that are not registered business, and they're working out of there. And who am I to talk? I did the same thing. So it's just one of those things that we're going to find going forward, is that everybody is trying to get away from paying that $30 per thousand on taxes if you register your business as a business, and $15 as a residential space. Then you have, if you have equipment on that property, you also have to pay
Personal property tax.
personal property taxes. That's another thing that we found that people were coming in and complaining about. Some cities and towns are enforcing that, others are not. But it's very hard for anybody that's running a business and buys a $200,000 piece of equipment and stores that on their property, and then all of a sudden, we're being taxed. I don't even know what personal property taxes are at, but I think it's up there. So that's an added cost that a business, in my opinion, and again, I'm retired, so I don't have that problem, and I have properties that I can hide my equipment, so I don't have to pay that. But my point is, that's something that we got a lot of complaints on when we talk to people in the town about. So, for whatever it's worth, I'm just laying it all out, that's the. But 138 is definitely the place that we should concentrate in trying to put businesses on.
That being said, I mentioned earlier Dayton Hardware. That place is still semi-vacant and for sale, isn't it?
Is it for sale?
I don't know.
I have a feeling that they've got so much stuff inside that place to sell that it's not going to be an easy thing. I could be wrong. It's going to be hard for them to sell that, or finding the right buyer for it is maybe the right thing. I don't know what the situation is there as far as the septic goes. I don't even know if they have one, or anything like that. I really don't.
You know,
I know that we're eventually going to get into the sewer. Is it worth it for the town of Dayton to run $20 million worth of sewer to go run it up that way? Is the return going to be there?
well, Joe, you know, I look at Route 44, 138, and William Street. We all know from discussions we've heard and had about sewage that to create a comprehensive sewage plan is just too expensive. But should we focus on a particular road? Get expansion on a particular road, whether it be Pleasant Street or Winthrop Street or 138, and focus all our efforts on that particular road.
I think we should focus on the areas that are needed and that they have no other option other than putting extremely expensive septics, or we run the sewer to them. In Pleasant Street, at the far end, we've got an area there that there is, 30, 40 homes in that area there?
Right.
And most of them, the septic systems are failing.
Right.
But that's from where the sewer is to where that is, we're looking at about 3 miles. 4 miles maybe, I don't know. Is it feasible to go from this point or try to negotiate with Somerset and bring it in from the other way?
But do you just do Pleasant Street, or do you bring it all the way up?
Well, if you're gonna run it from here, you're crazy not to bring it all, all the way up to there.
Oh, no, I'm saying come from Somerset up Pleasant Street and stop.
Is it in demand there? That's the big question.
I It's a great discussion. Maybe we'll cut it off at this point, though, because,
No, and I see where it was going to go.
would you have, say, talk?
I do, on number 19, I haven't had any discussion, and I'm curious as how the people in Dayton feel about expansion of solar projects in this community. Those are businesses.
They are.
It can be lucrative for the landowner
Probably.
and also for the suppliers that have wanted to come into Dayton. Obviously, they must be making money, or they wouldn't be.
That wouldn't actually fit in 19, because 19 is like looking at these certain sections of town that are prime, or hopefully prime commercial, whereas a solar is anywhere. I mean, the open space is aimed for a solar. I mean, it doesn't have to be in like 44, 138 area. So I don't know, it would fit in 19, but didn't we talk about this, Mike? Like, how do we ask the question of solar without getting people so bent out of shape that they're just negative all the way down, like, no.
Yeah, like solar is a tricky, solar is I'd say like an open-ended issue zoning wise. And I mean, in question 19, we're really, in my opinion, asking the question to help really have our zoning bylaws reflect different type of uses in different areas. And because solar is really open-ended.
I'm curious as to how many people in Dayton want to see more solar or don't want to see more solar.
Is there some other place where we could put that as an option?
My question is, how do the people of Dayton really feel about solar? Do they want more projects, or have they had enough?
14.
I think they don't.
I
wanna
can
see
answer
it.
that question for you, and I think I've already answered in the past. No one cares if they have, as long as it's not in their backyard. I've said this in the past, and I will say it out loud. Nobody cares where you put it.
But as someone who has to make, and you're involved in that decision-making process, to some degree I am too, when is enough enough? That's what I'm trying to determine.
We've talked about that at the planning board, that we don't want to see Dayton plastering these things everywhere, and especially not where it's visible from main roads and things like that. You go into Berkeley, you come off of Route 24, as soon as you turn right onto there, I mean, it's plastered, I don't know, probably 100 acres there, that it's
The end
just
of
one
Williams.
big solar array. That's not a very attractive thing. It may be okay for the owner of that property, but for people that are abutting that, it's not a good thing if they are looking to sell that. I wouldn't want to be buying a house next to an array like that. I mean,
The other thing about solar is they have strong legal protection at the state level to go wherever they want. As long as, and the towns have some say in it in terms of safety, setbacks, construction. And visual things like screening and that kind of stuff. But it's a heavily weighted on their side at the state level. That, am I talking out of turn? No, I'm right. So,
right on it.
yeah, there are specific law, I think it's what, Doverman, that, pretty much says that they can go anywhere they can, as long as they abide by proper safety and some town considerations about things like screening and visual appearance, and it's not a nuisance and all that kind of stuff. But you can't say like, Dayton's done with solar, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Don't want it.
exactly.
It's not even an option.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I thought there might be, you could set a limit on the number you'd have in town.
No, we talked about that. We were talking about just trying to say, okay, once we hit so many acres of solar, we're just gonna, we can't do that because number one, that's discriminating against some homeowners. And number two, it's not right in my book. So we have to keep an open mind to
Thank you.
anyone that wants to put that in, as long as they abide by the rules that we set in. Now, we did that on one particular project that has not been approved, and they're talking about already appealing that because of what it is. We set the boundaries, 100-foot setback for one area, 200 feet on the other, or whatever it is. And no, you can't do that. So if they appeal that, the Dover law will come in and say, yes, you can, or no, you cannot. So we can't set those things up. I don't know, we're just in a bind here that it's very hard to set up rules if we can't enforce them.
And there's a bit of a gray area, like, what is their protection from the state versus the town's ability to say what's proper? And there's, all the battle is in the gray area in between, because it's not so clear cut. And a lot of the things that Joe is talking about are the planning board trying to clear up that, and that was the, what got defeated at town hall, but it was the planning board trying to say, like, here, let's help fill in that gray area before somebody else does it for us, and
Right.
so.
Yes, but it still comes back that if we go and we set it up, and then all of a sudden we're trying to enforce that, Dover comes in and says, oh, no, you can't do that. And who are we? I've actually asked the question, what's the purpose of a planning board? What's the purpose of anything that, if we can't enforce what we set up to do?
Right.
Am I making any sense at all? We have our hands tied in a lot of ways.
Definitely with 40Bs.
There you go, that's another one. That's a pretty good discussion, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
I was just going to say this, little matrix here, this question that we're on number 19, I think helps inform Lenny's question about, you were saying about, in lieu of a comprehensive sewer plan, let's figure out where to invest, maybe with a, not a complete comprehensive sewer plan, but a targeted one.
Exactly.
This will help, I think, inform us what area of town, should we maybe target next for that, right?
good point.
Okay, good.
But are you okay with, based upon that discussion, not going into, like, asking about solar?
Yeah, I was going to ask to put that on the agenda for the, and just talk about
Okay, all right.
next meeting.
Okay. And then 20 is just, what other areas, if it's not 44, 138, or William Street, what other areas do you think should be developed? And, people just write in something.
Dan, I would just say commercial development, as opposed to like the residential.
Yeah, thank you. We made a big point of putting in commercial development everywhere. I missed that one.
Okay,
Because, yeah, we didn't want to confuse people and say, like, we're putting in subdivision. Okay.
yes.
The next two questions,
No.
go ahead, sorry.
Number 20,
Yeah,
would that be appropriate to put waterfront developments?
actually, it was just an open-ended question. It's just like, what other areas? And then you fill in a blank.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't found a good spot yet for waterfront. You brought that up before. Let's finish and then go back and figure out where waterfront should go. So 21, and actually also 22, and this is why I stuck them in italics. We're talking now about maybe rewriting 22 to add, to talk about things like tax incentives, but I wasn't real sure of the value of these. One is, I wasn't sure of the real problem with roadway developments in town for business purposes. I don't know that we have a huge issue, and maybe you or Mike disagree that.
still, I think from a transportation to economic development point of view, it would be, we think we have good roads. But like I also know there is a huge deferred capital priority, like inventory of, deferred maintenance on our roads and bridges as well. So just really to get that out there and to help educate people, I do think it would be helpful to leave that question.
Okay,
But I would add, I would propose adding, and I didn't think of this until now, into before we have none, I'll move everything down and add accessibility improvements as an option as well. I mean, and that would mean walkable sidewalks and spaces for both those are handicap or just, younger families with baby carriages and, all of those.
okay.
So, can we add roads and bridges? Because if that's an area that is not specified, then people can't.
Like, we have pavement improvements. By that, did we really mean roads and bridges? Maybe that's what was meant by pavement.
I mean, I think, yes, for roads, but issue is that bridges, no one really, just drive over them and don't really see them. So, I remember when I was doing research on the town when I was applying here, I was on the phone with the Pike Town administrator, and I said, I'm looking for the Pleasant Street at Muddy Cove Bridge. And she goes, do you see the 1914 and the cement? I said, yeah, I'm right there. She goes, you're on the bridge. So, but anyways, so just an aside, but the bridge.
We can change the word pavement to say road.
Yep.
Do we need to call out bridge? Change pavement to say road improvements and add accessibility improvements.
What about speed limit?
Huh?
Speed limit.
Oh,
But that's about, this is about
80 miles
business.
an hour in a business zone, do we?
Can I ask,
Stop signs, traffic lights, are we gonna have a second traffic light? When the town grows?
It's going down a road, Rafa.
the 20,
Unintended.
on 22, support incubator space?
So this is the one we're going to rewrite all the options. And in fact, I was pretty sure that you had told Lizette, don't include this, but she included it anyway. So like seed funding and all this stuff. So,
Yeah.
So we're going to have tax incentives, which is the TIF that Mike was talking about before, or the EDIP. So tax incentives will be an option.
Permanent guidance.
Permanent guidance. But the others, I think we aren't really, people would have too many questions about to begin with. And as Mike said, he doesn't really think there's an appetite in the town to provide loans for, that kind of stuff. So what other things would we put in there besides tax incentive, permitting guidance, and other for how can Dayton support business development?
well, we asked that of the people who are either business owners
We did.
or considering becoming a business owner.
Did.
We're just trying to see if an average, like a resident might have some other ideas for
Right.
us.
Because like Mike said, for the tax incentives, the residents have to approve it at town meeting if we do offer it to somebody. It's basically a reduced
Right,
tax.
but we're asking, how can they, you certainly can support business by giving a tax incentive, but are you asking them, would you be in support of giving, that's a different question.
That's true.
And so, and then it's a slippery slope, because if you ask that, they may say no, and then you've gone down the negative path.
So the question
Kind of
would
like
be,
a trick
would
question.
you,
Have we thought about what kind of a tax incentive can we do? Has anybody thought about that?
Well,
It's
so,
a committee.
yeah, we have a TIF review board. To focus on just that, we have to get it re-up and running because we do have a business, potentially locating to Dayton business that's interested. But I mean, But in my experience with TIFs, we can't have a hard and fast threshold. It all depends on the size, of the number of employees, and like a whole bunch of things that's really, it becomes impossible to try to have it across the board, type of matrix.
Okay. Who's on this board, if I may?
So there's a prior TIF review board with the town administrator, a member of the FinCom, and a business representative. Like what we just did, because in my view, and the Board of Selectmen's view, that really wasn't, that group wasn't really reflective of the people who the selectmen really thought should be at the table. So now, in addition to the town administrator, member of the Board of Selectmen, we also have the principal assessor, because it all comes down to the rates and values. We have the building commissioner. We have not the treasurer yet. We have a representative being Dan Higgins from the DDIC. And we have a resident at large. And there's also one other person who I forget
Okay.
who exactly it is. But like it's more representative.
I'm just thinking about the qualifications of the people that are on that board.
That's why we wanted to expand it, so that people, especially, it all comes down to assessing and the values and, and how all the increments would be made up and structured. So.
We talked about that at one point, and we just couldn't come up with the funds. This is in the very beginning, because a lot of people would come in as a business.
Mm-hmm.
And we would say, okay, you don't pay taxes for the first 2 years or something like that. And then the second to the third year, you pay 25%.
Go up.
And then just go up from there. And somebody on the board goes, well, that's a good thing, but it's really not a good thing, because these people will run their business here for the first 5 years, and then I decided I don't want to be in town any longer, but in the meantime, they saved all that. So I think that's something that has to be thought about in the beginning, if you leave.
Yeah, there's a way to structure clawbacks.
Yes, so I'm not trying to tell you what to do or anything like that. I'm just bringing that up because that is going to happen if we don't.
So I just want to do one thing. So I'm just going to rephrase the question based upon Patty's comment. So 22 would now say, would you be in support of the following to encourage business development? And then we could have tax incentive, permitting guidance, waterfront development. Stick that. That makes sense? Other, I don't know, people have other choices they want to put in there.
I was just wondering, maybe something like a quarterly business event or something like that, where the town actually does, similar to what we're thinking about doing with the chamber, and I don't know if it's appropriate for the town to do this, but to say, like a quarterly thing where you say Dayton's open for business, and, people that are interested in doing business here, you promote it on the LinkedIn page and that sort of thing, and maybe you do that quarterly or semi-annually, some type of educational, informational.
This one is directed to the town residents, this question.
Okay.
And primarily it's because they have to, it's going to cost them something, like they have to agree to tax incentives.
Got it.
They have to think about new things in new ways, like waterfront development. I'm not sure, even in that, I'm not sure what permitting guidance, what does it cost residents to say, sure, give them permitting guidance?
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, of course, why not? But
How did you rephrase that question again?
would you be in support of the following to encourage business development? And then we're going to scratch these and add waterfront development.
And we're asking them to choose, to stick with, choose up to three.
I would just say, I would just make it
Prioritize,
just yes or no, actually, because we only have 4 at the moment, so
Right.
yes, no.
So how is this different from question 10?
Question 10, I think it was asked to businesses. This one is being asked to residents.
Number was that, would you,
We're on right now, 22.
me too?
21, right?
Maybe since we've rewritten this and kind of changed the focus a little bit, maybe next time we meet up with Lizette, we can ask her maybe to suggest a few more things we can stick in there besides tax incentive, waterfront development, permitting, guidance, and other. Maybe there's 1 or 2 other things she can recommend. Okay, because now we're asking its focus, like, be willing to either pay or think differently about areas, you know. The last questions are, Lizette just broke these out separately. They're still resident questions, but they're more about agriculture. Would you be in support of the development of public spaces for the following economic activities: farmers market, summer concert series, public event space, outdoor dining, other? Dining's not really agriculture, but the other 3 certainly are. Would just be yes or no. Would you encourage the following agricultural tourism activities? And Darlene, I know I've talked to at least one guy from Berkeley who wants to move to Dayton because he does a lot of agritourism. Pick your own vegetables, hay rides, horseback rides, blah, blah, blah. And he said Berkeley gives him a very hard time because he's doing well and he generates a lot of traffic, which they don't like. But is agritourism as big as it might sound, or is it just kind of like a little add-on that
No,
draws?
it's big.
It's big,
Yeah,
yeah, okay. What are the challenges around doing that are different from, or is it just like any other
It's in the.
kind of
other-
business or service?
Sharon, in Sharon Wardsberry Farm, you know, they do the pick your own, they do the hay rides. They
Right.
just put in a wedding event place
Oh, wow.
to, you know, an open area, kind of like Five Bridge Inn, that they put the tent up, and you know, a lot of people are just doing that, renovating barns for wedding receptions. That's huge.
Is that, I mean, is that a zoning? It has to, is if something's zoned agriculture and they doing these kind of activities, that's not, is that an issue or not an issue?
I don't know that would fall into a commercial area or whatever. I really don't know.
It almost, agriculture almost supersedes again the town.
That's right.
It's an awful thing to say, but it does. But we always contact the town and say, this is what we're doing, or this is what we're thinking of, so they're all in the loop. Maybe just because it's just different ideas and they see it differently than the way we see it. But some people just
Okay.
do it and ask for forgiveness after.
No, it just might be because a part of this is like getting ahead of the curve, like setting up zoning properly so that there are not issues when,
A
so
lot of
if
my-
there is something, it'd be good to
A
know.
lot of my
we could-
neighbors have said that, that are new in town. They've come in and say, you know, you got them parking up and down the street. Well, yeah, but it's a very short period of time and we've expanded lots. But, you know, did you not look at the area before you moved in? You know, it's not like we just popped up. We've been there for a long time. And, you know, for some of the residents around us, it's been a problem.
Right.
But, you know, trucks coming in, big trucks, you know, but what can you do? You know, I only can have 40, 50 feet per driveway and, you know, the truck can get in, but when it's got to back up instead of drive in, it's a problem.
Right.
The town has always, you know, they've always worked with us. They've never, except for the solar farm.
Dan,
We're not talking solar farms right now.
on question,
They did.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, that's better.
question 24,
I'm not
would
saying.
winery be an option?
There you go.
I don't know, is that even,
A winery?
I didn't even think they were, like, are you talking about, like, actually grapes? I don't think I think we're too far north for that.
No, we
No?
got them on.
Oh, in Westport's,
Really?
Westport started on Horton Street.
Oh, wow.
oh, yeah, with the Russells.
Yeah, I mean, can add it.
Yeah, let's make one of those.
Is that, I mean, I'd love to see a winery in Dayton, why not?
The reason I thought they didn't have the right sugar content this far when it was colder climates, but apparently not, I'm wrong, so.
Used to have one in Rainham.
Oh, okay.
We used to,
Used to.
used to.
Used to,
There's no more in Rainham,
right,
right?
yes.
Okay.
Dan, going back to 23,
This is Mike's favorite question, by the way, so don't destroy it.
no, I'm going to throw something out. I had a really interesting conversation with Billy McKeown on this topic. Water,
Film.
Bill McKeown,
By the form letter.
attorney, yes. Waterfront dining. We always think about waterfront dining as some of the, looking at land along the waterfront. But has anyone ever thought of expanding by building a wharf out into the water to put a restaurant on it,
Floating restaurant, well, more than likely floating restaurant, or,
like a floating restaurant? He did say that there has been some discussion about a boat type, but the concern has been public safety, because we don't have the ability, EMS, fire, to get out if there's something bad that happens out in the river. However, you know, many times people will say, well, we got problems with, we don't have enough buildable land along the riverfront. But has anyone thought about the possibility of expanding a wharf out into the waterfront and building something on that? I'm wondering, you know, we have one restaurant in town, and this is no knock on 1712, but to grow the restaurant industry in this town, especially in the area of seafood, I'm just wondering how the people in town would feel towards that.
I think a nice restaurant would, if it was a nice restaurant, I'll give you an example. I'm Portuguese, but if I want to have a nice Portuguese dinner, I have to go to Fall River. Taunton has tried, there's been 5, 10 restaurants, Portuguese restaurants, that opened up in Taunton. None of them succeeded. There's not enough population there, but I'm not talking about a Portuguese restaurant, I'm talking a good restaurant. Somebody that cooks a nice steak, a nice fresh seafood and things like that. And they just don't exist in this area, they don't succeed, they don't. So I don't understand the reason why or anything like that. To answer your question as far as I'm gonna call it a float on the water. We would have problems with that because the one area that I know of, unless you know of others, would be on Pleasant Street with that ramp that we have. That would about be the only possible place.
I think he's maybe,
But-
like, if the Taunton Yacht Club sold and somebody bought it,
That's what,
that could.
Did they actually?
No, I'm saying, what if Taunton Yacht Club got sold into a developer who wanted to put a wharf and floating restaurant? That would be like a nice area, kind of thing.
Now we're talking about a restaurant in that area would have to have sewer. Because I don't think, they could do it with a septic, but it's much more costly that way to run a restaurant that you have to pump, very often.
So we added waterfront development as a question.
okay.
Do you think that's encompassing enough, or people probably aren't thinking about like all the ways that waterfront development could look, but did you want to expand that? We added it to number 22.
Right.
Do you want to just leave it at waterfront development, or do you
Yeah.
want to expand it to like, whichever it is,
Leave it,
Waterfront
front developed, yeah.
And then the last one, which is the question I just added, was, would you like your email added to a notification list? If so, please provide it. Some people may want follow-up, people may have, like, oh yeah, I'd love to be in contact with the Taunton Chamber of Commerce, or whatever. So it's totally optional. They can give an email address if they want us to follow up on that. Take these comments, I'll give them back to Lizette, and hopefully we'll have for the next meeting, a more final draft. I'm sorry, John, go ahead.
I was just reconciling this version with that version in an earlier version, and noticed that some of the questions in the earlier version are gone. And I was just wondering, do you want to talk about those maybe, or can I bring them up and we discuss them a little bit? Is that okay?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. One was, is this a home-based business? And that seemed to get dropped off. And I don't know if that's important for us to know.
Did you own or rent?
Do we have hard numbers of the number of home-based businesses in town?
And yeah, that was,
Not even close.
Mike provided a list at one point, and looking through the list, there were quite a few businesses that the owner's residence and the business address are identical or right next to each other,
Right.
which you can infer they're home-based businesses, but that would be it would just be an assumption, but.
Is that because people don't want to disclose that, or we haven't really sat down and directed our efforts towards a census on that?
I think it depends on, just having an LLC, they have to, an entity has to file with the town clerk. So, that doesn't mean that they're doing, something crazy out of their home. It just really means that they have filed an LLC. They filed for an LLC and they have communicated that to the town clerk.
Does the Secretary of State forward it to the town?
No, I believe I believe that it's been a few months since I looked at the spreadsheet, but I believe the entity has to file separately with the town clerk.
But how would the town clerk know
I'm,
if somebody was being honest or not honest?
yeah, to be honest with you, I'm not sure.
certain insurance companies and that sort of thing will require that document from the town that says that they've been permitted. But there's other spots where they don't have to prove it, right? So if they're not forced to prove it, they're usually reluctant to go walk into it, right? But I was just wondering if that's something that we wanted to, chase, or not.
We could add it to number 5. 5 is, why did you choose to locate your business in Dayton?
Mhm.
We could add
Home-based.
home-based business and Dayton resident.
Okay.
The other point is, we can go over your other questions too. I just want to make people aware of the time at 7:30. I don't have any place to be, but other people, and we still have an agenda beyond this. So we can continue on. I just want to call out the time to people. Okay, all right, good.
I feel bad for Mike. 'Cause-
Don't feel bad for me.
Oh,
They're used to.
well,
I have a loving wife and kids.
Okay, so,
wonderful
if you
thing.
would like,
No, let's go through them. We're all here, and so, yeah.
Okay. The next one was, how would you describe the general business environment in Dayton? And we're extremely positive, neutral, negative, that sort of thing. It gauges the,
We had those in with Lizette, and I think we took them out because we kind of felt like we kind of could infer it from their responses,
okay.
as opposed to specifically asking it and just having it be reconfirmed. So we were just trying to shorten the number of questions, but that was the reason we cut it.
Got it, okay. And then I think, I didn't see this, which one of is best way for you to learn about town activities that may impact you and your business? And it was like town website, emails, and, how best do we communicate with you, and that sort of thing. So I don't know if that was important to have on the survey as well.
So, I mean, I think on that, so one of the things, I mean, the vision, well, the intent of the survey in the first place is to help us really come up with the plan for economic development.
Yes,
Like in that question, I think it's like a little outside the scope of the planning elements.
okay,
That is just how do you get your news? Yeah, it's a more general,
yeah,
really economic development focused question.
okay, that's fine,
Okay,
okay, that's it,
okay.
yep.
Any other items, questions about this before we move on the agenda, or? No, okay.
Thank you.
Anyone is, let's talk about Dean Rougeau, who's here this evening. So originally, as you may know, when the Board of Selectmen reconstituted this group, we were to have a representative from the Bristol County High School to be a liaison here to represent the agriculture community. They were not able to keep somebody here consistently because of scheduling and so forth. So I did stop in at the Selectmen's office and ask them to put on the agenda having the Selectmen redo that. So I think they're not do it for tomorrow, that special meeting, but sometime in July.
It's on for the 13th.
It is on for the 13th, okay.
Now, the only thing I ask is, in your letter, please include the request to do that. Because we're going to vote on the acceptance of Darlene, but we also want to vote to accept the change.
Okay,
So it'll be two separate motions.
okay. And the other is, Darlene, it sounds like you know most of the people here, unless you have something you care to tell us about yourself, or our Zoom community, which they will watch. We always get half a dozen.
I grew up in Somerset. I moved here when I was 22 years old, so I've been here a little over 40 years now. I'm married to a farmer in town that has been farming third generation. Our daughter Leanne is fourth generation. I grew up, like I said, I grew up in Somerset. I graduated from Bridgewater State as a teacher. Elementary education, and when the farm needed to start doing retail, I said, oh, it's a great summer job. And then it grew into a retail operation with veggies, and now it's flowers, because people will spend more money on what they will see than what they will eat. But, gardening is still the love of, our family. I also went to Radcliffe and studied landscape design. And that's what we do. We've just expanded from dairy farming to veggies, market gardeners with large grocery store chains, and now we are strictly retail.
Wonderful.
A transition.
Excellent.
Did anybody have any?
Offer floral arrangement courses as well.
We do. We do
Which I will
classes-
attend July.
Classes at night. You will.
It's a great
Classes
town.
at night, and we do a lot of, classes at night and a lot of fundraising for different groups. I'm a member of the Lions Club in town and the Dayton Garden Club.
Did anybody have any questions for Darlene?
No, welcome, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yes.
I do think we have to make a motion to
That's what you interested?
Yeah.
making the final appointment, but that we appoint Darlene Rougeau to be a member of the DDIC.
I make a motion to appoint Darlene Rougeau as a new member of the committee.
I'll second.
Second,
Thank you.
all right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? It's unanimous. Welcome, thank you very much. One thing that we will be trying to do, and hopefully you can help us with this, is carving out a piece of our agenda for each meeting that's more agriculture focused.
Okay.
I mean, you've heard us talk about restaurants and light manufacturing and all kinds of stuff,
There's a
but
lot of
Yeah.
agricultural land that's going to come up for sale. Third generation, most, even the second generation, not interested. Big parcels. There's one on William Street within 5 years, 60 acres.
wow.
That's huge. And of course, he's going to sell it to a developer. Why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Not a big.
Could be a lot of houses.
Next item on the agenda is to discuss the plans for the Firecracker Festival, which is July 9th. We had talked at the last meeting about doing like magnetic calendars. So we have two constraints there. One is, I did talk to a couple printers in town. None of them actually do it themselves. They'll all place the order for us, but they third-party it out. It comes out of, wherever that they work with. And given our timelines, just between now and July 9th, they said nobody could guarantee that they're going to get it to us by July 9th. Maybe, maybe not, Cost would actually be, it was just like a mid-year calendar with nothing special but our logo and, DDIC at the top. It would be like 55 cents or so. I do understand that the Commission on Disabilities is doing a magnetic calendar, so somebody else is going to be doing that as well. You'd have a backup plan, so to run this past you. If you've ever been to Town Hall, these are distributed by the state, and it's just frequently called names and numbers for the town kind of thing. So taking that as an idea, if we did something like this, like on heavy card paper, two-sided, but with more custom towards Dayton, with numbers on the front and meeting dates on the back. I'm thinking about.
Do you have extras on those that we could each have one, or?
I just printed 3-color ones.
Oh, okay.
But I got another one here if you want to look at that. So these would be, get my notes here.
Do you have someone to print this?
Yes, Devo Printing. What he said though is, I have to give it to him first thing tomorrow morning. So if we approve it tonight, I have to give him the PDF files in the morning so that he can make sure he's got it for us by the 9th. And the cost would be, depending upon how many we order, 100 would be $50, that's 50 cents a piece. 250 would be $90, so that's 36 cents a piece.
No, I didn't have
If we wanted 500, which I think is a lot, but it would be $150, so that drops it down to 30 cents a piece. So it'd be on the same heavy card stock. And I can still, edit this a little bit this evening if people want to scan through either who I've got listed for numbers, or do you need one mic to look at, or?
Yeah, let's keep going, I'm in no rush.
Or the meetings on the back. And I only listed those that have regular recurring meetings because a lot of committees have
this is
just
great.
ad hoc meeting dates.
Still Aggie have the
Agricultural Committee
hunting department.
on this side.
I think it's too late to start shopping around now.
Kids are out of school and.
Oh, yeah.
I used to use Bristol County.
Bristol County itself, has a print shop as well.
The other thing, if people still wanted the idea of magnets, you can buy these at like Walmart or things. You can buy like packs of they're really used for crafts, but they're just small magnets, and you just glue them, stick them on. And those go for about 10 cents a piece. So depending how many we want, if we wanted to put magnets on the back of them, there'd be space at the top on the back, and I could magnetize them, and people could hang them or flip them. And so that's my backup plan. Because
I think it's,
okay. So
I like that.
how many do you think we would need? Obviously, we could reuse them, but a year from now, we might have a different idea of what we want to do. So is 100 enough? Do we want to do 250?
Has anybody talked to Kevin about what he's expecting? I know, so last year, it was somewhat well-ended, right, Mike? I think Kevin's hoping that this year will be, much better attended. There's going to be a lot more entertainment and that sort of thing. Are they doing the dunk tank with the selectmen?
No, he's going to use, they're going to have something similar.
Okay.
It's going to be a pail. No falling, it's going to go over our heads. Yeah, pail.
Oh. So I wonder if we could check with Kevin to see if he has any idea, you know,
I have to get these to the printer in the morning.
In the morning.
So do we want to spend like the extra $40 and go from 50 to 90 and get 250 instead of 100?
The only thing to save the dates, I like everything except for the town election and maybe the Cow Chip Festival for next year. We don't have dates yet.
Right, so they have to, that's why it's just in the line, like people
Oh, they can
write it in.
themselves.
write it in themselves, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When it gets announced, you can stick it on your fridge and you know the date, so. So 100
Cow
to
Chip is
250.
always first
I
weekend
say 250.
of June.
yeah, I'd say so.
So I can, Cow Chip is always first weekend of June?
Always first. Yeah, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday after Memorial Day.
Okay, so I could put that date in, and Dayton Lions Club's not gonna set up on me?
They've never changed it. We've always done it that weekend.
Okay, all right, so I'll throw
You
that.
can bank on the Lions Club.
At least for the last 40 years that you.
Yeah. Watch, they'll change it next year.
Right.
Sorry,
first.
Or cancel it because of the pandemic.
so like in the annual town election, it's always the first Saturday in April.
Weekend, June.
It's,
So that's,
So it would be June 2, 3, and 4.
I'll just leave it blank. People can write it in for town election, but I'll put the Cow Chip Festival date in there to June 2, 3, and 4. 2 through 4. What do people think, 100 or 250? Difference between $50 and $90?
250. 250 vote.
No, okay, so.
We'll have other
150 each.
opportunities probably, right?
The other thing, and this could be reused, particularly say for the chamber event in September, which is, you can get like a vinyl banner, 2 feet by 6 feet, and it would just have DDIC on it, town logo, spelled out, Dayton Development Industrial Commission. That Walgreens does those, because they have this like standard personal service, you can get like photographs and window, those kind of stuff. Vinyl banners are one of them. And they actually turn that around like within a day. It's $41.
really? Excellent.
So do we want to spend the $41 on a vinyl banner? Because we can reuse that. It won't have dates or times or anything. It's not going to say Firecracker Festival, so
the only thing, if you order it before July,
I'll wait till July 1st, yeah.
but if you want to do it before, like we do it, I don't want to say the extra funds, but I have unspent funds in the town administrator's budget. I'll fund these out of the town administrator's budget so we can have them.
Okay,
Thank you.
Oh, and then you're done and good to go. So,
Thank you. So we don't need.
and I was going to order pizza tonight out of the town administrator's. budget.
oh, nice.
Can't think of any more of those?
All right. Because we're. Right.
So just two things. And number one, on the committees, for health, I would just write Board of Health.
Board of Health, okay. I was trying to make it alphabetically correct. I can just say Health Board of, or I'll just change the Board of Health. It'll just be out of order, but that's okay.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's right.
And then on the trail, it should be trails plural.
Trails plural, okay.
On that, should be good.
So if I'd like to entertain a motion that we order 250, and do we want to do the magnetic backings to them? Or just leave them like this?
Yeah.
Leave them like this, okay. So that we order through Dabo Printing, 250 Dayton telephone number cards, and through the Walgreens that we order a vinyl banner 2 feet by 6 feet. Motion?
Make a motion
Okay,
to purchase the banner and purchase the information cards.
second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let's see. The next item of business is the Board of Selectmen did approve the commission having both a Facebook and LinkedIn profile on the town sites. So we do have to appoint, at least for the Facebook, I'm not sure how LinkedIn will probably work in the same, but a site administrator. Mike always has access to the sites for the town, but then each committee appoints one administrator. We have, usually, the people who are here as liaisons, we do not ask to head to those because myself, John, Joe, so it's really Tom Berkwin is not myself, Rafa, myself, or Patty. So I'd be willing to do this if everybody's okay with that. Raphael's done many of these. He does it for the Historical Commission, so I'll probably lean on him heavily, but technically I'll put up the one. So if somebody want to make a motion to appoint.
I make a motion.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, yes.
A motion to appoint Dan Higgins as Facebook administrator, and I'm going to say LinkedIn administrator, although I don't actually know what that is going to
Yeah,
look like right now.
we can do that together.
I make a motion
Okay.
for Dan Higgins to be the Facebook and LinkedIn administrators.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Sorry, go ahead.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The next, this is just a standing item, and we may not have anything to talk about, which is fine, but progress report on the Zeneca site, and I don't know, there'd be, like, if there's nothing update.
Yeah, so I've been emailing my contact with Zeneca, trying to set up a meeting. He actually reached out last week because of, we need to finalize, now that we've done our due diligence, the town has on the acceptance of parcels on Brook Street that town meeting accepted last year. And now that we have the phase one, he was reaching out on that, but when we were emailing back and forth the other day, I did tell him we do have a laundry list of items that I have to discuss with him. And so we're going back and forth dates right now, but that will be by the July meeting, I should have an update on that.
Okay, great. So Zeneca's in a butter to what the town now owns on Brook Street, is that? Yes.
Yeah, but they own property that they've gifted to the town, yes.
Oh, they did, okay, all right.
I'm sorry, it's off of Main Street, I'm sorry.
Main Street,
Yes.
okay. The next is to discuss any new business interests in town.
Standing that there has been some discussions. At the last meeting, we had a developer from Rhode Island come and talk about interest in working with Shaw's Boatyard and establishing a business.
Nothing has come of that.
I'm sorry?
Nothing has come from that.
There is, actually.
Huh?
There is.
There is?
Yeah, so I've talked to him a couple times, and then Mike, Jim Aguirre, and Carrie today met with him.
Oh, because the last time I asked, I apologize.
That's all right.
Last time I asked Carrie, she says, no, he's never come in, so.
No, so I don't remember the date. It was like a week and a half ago, maybe. Okay.
Okay.
So, so Mike and Jim in particular, kind of walked him through what are the next steps. Does not appear to be a zoning issue. Mike, or Jim rather, said it was a marina. It is actually in unlike, we thought it was in a commercial space, but it's not. It's in but it's owned like, not open space, but something along those lines.
From what, I was talking to Carrie about that, and she says it really doesn't fall in this zoning which is commercial, but the zoning that it falls in, it's boating, and, there's no reason why we can't add, sort of like a gray area there. We can't add manufacturing of boating on there.
So Jim thought it was like currently it's kind of a non-conforming, but it's existing. And he's just taking over ownership. And so Jim said, this is initial opinion only. Probably would have to go to the ZBA for like an expansion of his non-conforming because he wants to put from a 10,000 to a 15,000 square foot building. But looks promising.
Having been someone that's done a little bit in town, the main thing, and I started talking about it, is that, and I didn't finish what happened across the street here, is that at that time, it was very hard to actually get a building permit. And, the building inspector, in fact, when I did that across the street, because I said to you that a post office was not zoned accordingly because it's not a public building. And my argument was there is nothing that's more public than a post office. He goes, yes, so you're gonna have to go out and get an interpretation from an attorney as to what a public building is. I go, are you serious? And so it cost me an extra $300, another month of delays to get those things done. And that's the things that we need as a town, is to cut the BS out of the way.
Absolutely.
And let's get these people a building permit as quickly as we possibly can.
Yep.
Because the BS is what everybody has problems with.
And with that said, who will help walk these developers, in this case, we have a specific person, through the process?
Jim said he was.
Jim will?
Yeah. So what the takeaway from that meeting was, and he told the developer, and we all told the developer and echoed it, was that this gentleman, there was a private transaction that was needed to finalize before anything could go forward.
Okay.
This gentleman has made an offer, was about to make an offer, but it was a private. But it would be the decision of a private market decision that would determine whether or not this gentleman would acquire it. And the gentleman then was going to boat to Ireland. Later in the weekend, he won't be home. He won't be back here until mid-July.
Oh, okay.
So nothing was imminent, but even once he returns, and if he actually acquires the property, he still has some due diligence that he needs to do in terms of having the area surveyed and coming up with plans. So he has some work to do. This meeting was very preliminary, but what the meeting did convey is that with a survey, with a plan, he could have a path forward.
I will say, and I'm sure we can't do this with everybody, and I know I was annoying you.
Oh, no.
But, when he was here, I gave him my phone number, and I said, call me. And he did. He called me, and I said, I'll meet you at Town Hall. I'll introduce you to Carrie at the planning board. I talked to Mike. I bothered Mike many times to make sure we had a meeting that we could turn around really quickly, because this guy was imminently leaving the country.
That's how we.
I know, but really, and a lot of towns, they say, we roll out the red carpet for you. That's not something we can do every, but that's what, it really felt good that we were able to say, he called me with questions, he had questions about water pipe sizes in the area. I was able to call the water department, get him his answers, get Mike and Jim and Carrie all together in a room with them on his timetable.
This is excellent. That's
That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, going forward, like for everybody who wants to come.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I cannot say more about, I'm gonna just say what I said earlier. The BS is, there's nothing worse for any developer, anyone trying to start a business and having to pay attorneys, engineers, and, over and over and over again. One day you get there, they ask you for this. Then you go back and they say, oh, well, you also need this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, why didn't you tell me that from the get-go? I think that's one of the things that Carrie is very good about that. And I think we need to get everybody on board and to doing that.
So, I mean, and one of the things and I believe like a few months ago, like I mentioned it as well, but one of the things we started in October, internally as well, as we established between Jim Kerry, Todd Pilling, the health agent, and Lisa Caledonia, and I internally as staff, we established a permitting and compliance team. So like obviously there are other boards, there are other boards and committees. They make their own decisions. And they have the ability to do that. However, from an internal staff point of view, we meet every 4 weeks and we talk about, the projects that are out there, the decisions that have been made. So all of us are on the same page. We know what the other hand and other departments and commissions are doing. And one of the things when, for the opening of, they had, based on the licensing by the CCC, the Cannabis, by the Cannabis Control Commission, they have to have everything in order, and it was because of that, whole synergy between us that it was really, really worked. So we want to continue modeling it. It's the only way we should be doing business.
Absolutely.
So,
Great.
I can't say how important that is. I've done business in Attleboro at one point. Now it's much easier. It took me 3 years to get a development through. And it was just one after another. You go, you submit the paperwork, you do everything the right way. All of a sudden, oh no, you're gonna have to do this all over again. And it was so aggravating, and the money that I poured into doing that, it almost just, you feel like walking away, but I already put in $100,000 into it. Why leave now? It's aggravating. It really is. So please, let's try to get this.
So on that permitting board, it's Todd, Jim, Lisa, and,
Carrie and me.
Two other businesses that are now open this early, middle of May, but also Under the Sun has now opened at their new location on William Street. So congratulations to them. And Barbara Catavia has opened, I don't know the name of her place, but it is on William Street at the former Reed's Farm. So it's, sounds like it's a kind of a mixed fried ice cream, bakery, farm stand. She mentioned a few other services.
Gift shop,
Yeah. So congratulations to her as well. I don't know of any other businesses that have opened in the past month that should call out. Not aware of some. The next item is, we did receive an open meeting law complaint from Patrick Higgins dated April 27th. So Mike is going to walk us through that, and I gather several committees have similar complaints, so I standardize a little bit, like how each committee does things, so we're all on the same page.
While this is going around, because the DDIC and its members do, in their vote, have to acknowledge that they have received and reviewed the complaint. But actually at the end of April, we received this open meeting law complaint from Patrick Higgins. The complaint the description of the alleged violation. It reads that the DDIC violated the open meeting law as follows. The chairman did not announce that the meeting was being recorded as required by section 20F of the open meeting law. The video of meeting. The remedy or the what action do you want the public body to take to resolve in response to the complaint? All members should be required to attend a webinar given by the Division of Open Government so they can learn and comply with the open meeting law. Two things. Number one, the requirement to say the meeting is being recorded is a very technical, violation that is, it's a very technical violation. So, in all instance, the committee did violate the open meeting law. But, as we, and as Dan has mentioned, we try to be constructive and learn from the things that are brought to our attention. So now when we go forward, that is announced at every public meeting that the meeting is being recorded. Number two, the town clerk, when all board and committee members are sworn in, he does actually provide to all board and the committee members a copy and a summary of the open meeting law. So we do meet the requirements of the law. We as a town had originally scheduled, hoped to do it in mid-July, but things are getting, just things to move quickly this spring. But we do, I'll probably now by mid-September, have plans to bring all board and committee members together, to have an open meeting law training, invite either the state down, what to have our town council provide the training. I can also have a conversation with all board and committee members, about the types of issues that boards and committees should use really discretion when talking about public meeting. We don't obviously want to have any instances where a public board or committee they mention a town employee by name in a public meeting where that employee hasn't been notified. We don't also want to have any issues where any board or committee mentions any litigation that may be ongoing with the town. It's we've had a lot of turnover in our boards and committees. We want to bring everyone together, do really a refresher open meeting law training, and then have a more general training about expectations as well. We do plan to do that. We are already meeting the requirements of the open meeting law, with the overview and the summary of the open meeting law provided by the town clerk. So what I would recommend is that the DDIC vote to acknowledge that they have received and reviewed the complaint, but then designate me to respond to the complaints on the commission's behalf. I would do that, and I will restate everything that I just mentioned in the overview I just provided, if that would be acceptable.
So I'll entertain a motion to acknowledge that the DDIC has received the complaint and to designate Town Administrator Mike Mullen to respond on our behalf.
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye. If I may, getting into that, I think we all have to keep in mind, like, I'm a loudmouth. I speak my mind. I don't care who's listening. But one of the things that we have to understand is we're all volunteers into this. And if we're gonna be picked out every so often because we made a mistake, I have a feeling that people have to realize that I don't have to be here. I'm here because I was asked to be here, and I'm willing to help. I've been in this town for almost 40 years. I love this town. I will do whatever it takes to help this town. But I will not put up with any BS from anybody that is nitpicking at me or anyone else that I serve with.
Especially by someone who lives in Alabama.
So I'm not trying to threaten anybody or anything like that, but I am speaking my mind, and whether that's good or bad, that's me, so.
I'm saying this as a member of the Board of Selectmen now. The Board of Selectmen and the town administrator have expressed our frustrations with the amount of complaints on minor issues that it's in committees in the town of Dayton have received. And the amount of time and effort that it has required those committees to respond to those petty complaints, and the amount of time the administrative assistants in the Board of Selectmen office have had to take doing research on those complaints and answering those complaints. So your concerns have been expressed to the Attorney General's office. It is also my understanding that one other town in this area has filed suit in regards to frivolous complaints that that town has received. So you are not a lone voice.
Okay, no, I have no shame to say I'm an uneducated person. I have
Done very
not even a high school diploma. Nobody needs to know that, but let everybody know. I don't care. But when I speak, I say what I feel. If that's not good, hey, tell me. I know the way out. I don't need to be present for any of this, but I will always speak my mind.
And others in Dayton have expressed those same feelings.
I'm sorry?
And others in Dayton have expressed those same feelings.
I mean,
How do we attract people? I mean, as a town, so I mean, like if we have to worry about this, like this person watching over our shoulder for the most mundane, routine, technical things.
right.
But then we're supposed to be able to attract people, so to come, I mean, as you.
Absolutely. I mean,
volunteer. So, and then, then to a lay person, when, like when you say, you violated the open meeting law, I mean, to a person who doesn't understand it, so it sounds like an egregious offense, like we did something crazy, and how dare we, which is, I mean, violating the open meeting law, I mean, especially on something like this, there are other, instances, where it's egregious, but I mean, if this is something so mundane, so perfunctory, that, I mean, it's a waste of time, frankly.
thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm sorry?
This person has issues.
No, we need you.
As Dan.
Huh?
We need you here, so don't walk out the door.
Oh, no, you know what? You need me as much as you need any of us. There's no difference. We're all here for one specific reason. It's to see if we can see this town get out of its wet feet, whatever you want to call it. So that's all I'm here for. I've been in this town for, God, I can't even say, but it's close to 40 years, and I love it. I love it here, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I still say I'm on my second and a few other years on planning board, and that's the end of it. I can tell you that. I'm not gonna run again. Nobody comes in. I'm always the winner of all the votes because nobody else is there to run. So let more people come in. We need that. We need people with the education and computers and all of that stuff. I'm not that person. But I do have a mouth, and that's a very loud one, I can tell you that.
And a builder who understands what goes into a development.
Of what I went through in the past, absolutely. So, it is what it is. But I do appreciate you saying that because that is, seems like somebody doesn't have a lot to do.
The next item is an update on the Chamber's business event, which it's September. I don't know if you have an actual date yet, or
It is, it's September 21st. That
21st.
Yes, it's confirmed with Bristol Aggie. We have a number of sponsors. So the sponsor, I don't know if I have the full, but we've got almost like $3,000 minimum in sponsorships. So we're gonna throw a party with, food and beer and wine and.
And just the 3,000 doesn't even include the use of the venue, which Bristol is donating. So that's really
Yeah.
that much more even.
And this is more about catering
Yeah.
and that sort of thing, yeah.
Who's doing the catering, if I may ask?
I don't even know.
Because the reason why I ask, I have a friend of mine that's
Don't-
very, very good on that area as far as the catering goes, so.
Okay,
it's
well, I know we've
just
gotten
food for
quotes,
thought.
I know we've gotten quotes, and we're getting, and right now, we're thinking that it's about 100 people. But when you think about everybody that's gonna come, and we really would like the selectmen to come. Mike, we'd like you to attend, right? We would like everybody on this commission to attend. And then you start talking about the businesses that are gonna be here. Some of the banks are gonna sponsor it, so they're gonna have a table there too. So they'll have 2 or 3 people there, and so it'll be quite a few people. We're really looking forward to it. Chris Silva is the president of the chamber, and she's working very hard to put all this together, the budget and everything, and we're gonna promote it heavily on social media. Hopefully, Dan, we can use our new LinkedIn page or a Facebook page to promote it as well.
Can I just say one thing? It's the third Wednesday of the month. So it's not a selectmen's meeting, right? Because you're
Second and fourth.
second and fourth. It is a planning board meeting. So both of us may not be able to attend.
No, what is the time of this?
So September 21st,
Did you say the time or not yet?
and it's at, so I've got it in my calendar at 4:30, but I think it's like 5 to 7.
Oh.
Okay. Any other details about?
So some of the details are that we had a little bit of a tour of the facility. I don't know if anybody has seen that beautiful new facility. It's absolutely gorgeous. The school will provide student ambassadors to give tours. So they're going to give tours of, they have a whole veterinary place, and they do stuff with rehabilitating turtles and wildlife, and it's amazing. And then they're gonna take us into the new, computer, fully automated barn where the cows.
Oh, that's where I'm gonna have a lot of fun. Oh, no, what I'm looking
So
at.
they're gonna give tours of the place. It's gonna be a great networking event. We're gonna have food, we're gonna have beer and wine and other refreshments, and
Sounds like a lot of fun.
So I'm sure at some point you're going to come up with a write-up for advertising purposes of there's
Yes,
going on.
okay.
And at that point, we can start putting it up on social media in town. And
yep.
Now, with that being said, and we're going to be inviting businesses
Yes,
to attend, will we also be reaching out to real estate companies that may have respective tenants? Or could we reach out to realtors,
I think we had this discussion a couple months ago.
attract commercial businesses to help us?
I would say so. I mean, we're not restricting, attendance, right? I mean, so the way it's going to work is there's going to be a registration link, right? And so we're going to ask people to register, right? And you just click on a link and enter in all your information. One of the things that Chris and I were talking about is, should we have a nominal fee, say $10 for each person? Because what happens is, if you say free, people sign up and then don't show up. And so if we say we get 150 people signed up for free, and then we order all that food and everything for 150 people, and then they don't show up, then that's a kind of a shame, right? So we were wondering if we should consider having a $10, just to put some skin in the game kind of, registration fee.
That per organization or per person?
Per person, I would say. I mean, you guys would all get complimentary, right? I mean, so it wouldn't be the commission, the town people and that sort of thing, right?
No,
It would be-
I understand that part. I understand all of that, but I'm not sure $10 might be a bit much for people to come in just to take a tour of that, the school. And I'm not,
I kind of agree with that.
So, but is it a potential business or is it so the general public? I mean, we're really trying to target market, so to business prospects, not just residents. So not like the audience isn't our Dayton residents as much as it is as its potential Dayton business interests.
Exactly, yep. And also Berkeley, just so everybody knows, it's also an event being held with Berkeley. So the Berkeley selectmen and town officials and that sort of thing will also be in attendance, and they'll have some information there as well. So it's a co-town event.
Are we setting up individual, like, booths for the businesses?
So yeah, everybody is available to table if you'd like to table, as they call it, yes.
So have you done these types of events before and done it with a nominal fee and?
No, yes, so yes, we do events all the time, right? And it's amazing when we have a free event, how many people register and don't attend. So we know this by experience, and so.
Confident, though, that if you were to put out a small fee and people register, that you would get a greater number in attendance? Is that what you're saying? Like what you anticipate about how many businesses?
So right now, we're saying, let's think 50 to 75. That's what we're thinking of, not businesses, but attendees. So that's kind of what we're thinking. And that's what we're budgeting for. I don't know if that's low or not. And Chris and I don't know until we start seeing some activity on social media, right? And start to gauge what the interest is, and then to start to see who starts to register.
John and I also talked about, once he's got all that set up, if here's the flyer or the information, all that's settled, he'd like to ride around town one-on-one, like all the Dayton businesses, and say, hi, we're having this, here's a flyer, we hope you can come,
Yeah.
blah. So I offered to do that with him, and I hope you don't mind, but our town finance officer and collector is really eager to get I don't know whether it's just like meet with businesses, start engaging in dialogue with them on a regular basis. I told him, if he wants to ride around with us Excellent. I mean, it's probably going to be weekday during the day while he's working, but if he has time available, he may join in with us just to participate in that.
Great.
So he can,
And maybe he should come to this event.
I'm sure he probably will.
Yeah, that would be great, right? Because hopefully we can get a lot of the Dayton businesses.
Is there something that you can relay during the Firecracker Festival?
That's July 9th.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, that's another great point. I will see Chris can put together some kind of a little flyer thing to start to promote this. Yeah, for the firecracker thing. Great idea. Thank you. Yes. So, okay, so I got some pushback on the $10.
Well, no, I'm just thinking, that's a new school. A lot of people are so eager to go see what's in there and all of that. I'll agree to that. I'll agree to that one. Let's see how everybody is
It's
gonna
gonna
go.
be free food and free,
Yeah,
you know.
no, I understand. Now, the food, you're saying free food, is this like finger food or?
I think it's gonna be appetizers kind of thing.
Okay, all right, yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
But it's being promoted as an opportunity for them to network as well.
Absolutely, it's a business networking event, right? It allows the businesses and the town people to get together, right? And it's a great opportunity for everybody to just network. And, you know, some businesses may have been hesitant to walk into town hall, but maybe if they've had a beer and they see you, Lenny, they walk up to you and say, you know what, Lenny, I got a problem, you know, whatever. You know, so maybe I think it'll be good.
What about these businesses being charged a certain amount of money to have a table?
Right.
So sponsorships so
Oh,
that's what we're doing, like,
okay, sorry,
yep, so like Mechanics Bank, they've offered to pay a certain amount, contribute in, they want a table,
That's how we.
right, beautiful.
Now, will you be advertising this through the whole chamber, the district?
Absolutely, through our website, through all of our promotional, channels, absolutely, yep,
And we're gonna do the same thing.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the different,
In Berkeley too, the Berkeley administrator and selectmen are on board as well. Yeah. Everybody think it's good?
oh yeah, it's exciting.
Okay.
You get number one ticket. It's not-
So on the value of a conversation with Joe Figurito, it's just priceless. You can't put a price on it.
As soon as I leave here.
Okay, so that's great. So I think a couple of follow-ups on this for me is that I need to start working with Chris on like what that social media image is and that sort of thing, get that to you. And also in preparation for the firecracker event, you know, the chamber is going to be there. We'll have a table there and we'll definitely pass out those, registration type informational pages or whatever.
Good.
Okay, good.
The next item is business cards for members. We had talked about this before. At the time, we did not have a budget, so come July 1st, we will have a budget. I know some people here already have business cards because you probably have one for the planning board, or?
No, I don't
No.
have cards for the planning board. I have cards that were made for the industrial development Commission
Okay,
a long time ago and never used it.
but like Raphael and I were going to go to a chamber networking event at some point, and then Raphael was like, well, I don't have a card to hand them, I don't have anything. It's like, anyway, we didn't wind up going, but, I'm not sure if Patty or Raphael or myself, if you want to have cards, I mean, most of the town offices and committees, at least those that specialize and have
I think
information to distribute might, so.
business cards would be good, and we don't have to have individual names. You put the entire board on the card. And if you hand a card or I'm sorry,
I like that idea. with-
that way we only have to purchase, say, 500 cards.
Sure. Good idea.
But everybody's name is on there. And
one thing we don't have, and I don't know how other committees deal with this, I mean, some, like the planning board, have dedicated office, but we don't have like a contact. And like, what would we put for, how
I was
to
just thinking, and just actually it came to me while we were talking about it. So like the cable committee has a dedicated email address. It's the cable@dayton-ma.gov, but it goes to all 3 members.
you guys, does the historical commission have something? No, you don't, so.
So what I'm thinking, even if it's a, like an email address, DDIC
Yeah.
so Dayton-ma.gov, or, economic development, or, something like that, that's, that's general, so, but also can feed out to everybody.
Right.
So, but also for the purposes of like a business card, get something to show that, to emphasize that we're serious about this,
Right,
It's not a one-off.
okay. Do I have to make a request to the board,
No,
or,
I can reach out to Chris Warner,
okay,
our network administrator, and
Okay.
have him set it up.
good.
Do we have a preference of, so TDIC at DDIC at Dayton, MA.gov, or is there any other thing we can think about?
Just for an email address?
DDIC, that's who we are, right?
Okay, all right,
Is that all right?
yeah.
Set that up.
So I'm not gonna obviously order anything till we get that, and Tom's not here tonight, so. The other committees though, so, and then we can decide who wants them, and how many, not who wants them, but how many we should get. So, the next item, which we talked about before, was Lenny was going to work with Pure Oasis to have a tour for the.
I have reached out to them, I haven't heard back.
Okay.
I want to just check on this. I had said to them Fridays morning, is that a bad time for people?
Fine.
Okay,
Okay,
I just wanted, because that's, sent an email, and I called him today, and he didn't get back to me, so I'm going to pursue that further.
How does that work with this?
an open meeting if we all go. Like you said, there's a way around that, right?
It is a tour. It is not a meeting.
There's no deliberation.
Right. That's how,
So yeah, there's no deliberation on anything, before the committee, in all honesty, so anything that has to be deliberated on has already, with regards to Pure Oasis, has already been deliberated by the Board of Selectmen, by the Planning Board, and there's only one other committee that is having a deliberations on Pure Oasis right now. And none of us here are members of that committee. So
and we had a small tour, not what I'm trying to get, because we just went into one small section when we met with Auchincloss. And we clarified that with the state, the AG's office, to make sure we weren't violating the open meeting law. And what we were told was, it's a tour. As long as it's a tour, we weren't deliberating, we were good. So we didn't post that one either. What I'm hoping is that, what I'm asking is that he take us through all the buildings. Because one of the things that I've heard, Aguirre, he's been through all the buildings, and he talks that certain segments of that complex have potential uses that, we might get some ideas and try to encourage Toby to go in that direction, or if he's on board with us, to go out and try to recruit, as in the case of potential for a restaurant there, that Jimmy Aguirre talks about all the time. I want to see that.
I agree with that totally. I know that we had some discussion in the planning board at one point not to allow restaurants in there because of the way it was zoned, and I think that's been abolished completely. And
Yeah, the underlining zoning there, I think, already lends to it.
I'm sorry?
The underlining zoning already lends to
Yes,
the overlay.
the overlay, exactly. And I think it's a great idea to do that, and that building is, I see it in 5 years, been being a boom in business there. I really do. I'm sorry.
Next item is correspondence. I'm unaware of any. Nobody has, no correspondence that people have received for this committee? No. We don't have an email address. Are they going to send us in? Public input, there's no one on Zoom. We have no public input. Meeting minutes, I distributed the May 23rd meeting minutes. I don't know, do we have the December ones?
I don't have them,
Okay.
I didn't get a chance to print them out.
That's okay.
I had a meeting,
That's no
we
problem.
had a big fire, as you're all aware. Weekend, I had to have to break on that, so
No, it's
I
fine.
will get it to you.
If you don't remember, we had December meeting minutes back in January.
There was some
voting on, and there were some corrections, and then we never got back to approving them, so December is still outstanding. But I did send these on Friday or Saturday. People have had a chance to look at them. If you want to review them now, this is meeting minutes from our last meeting. Anybody has any corrections or comments?
Usually, no, the historical commission, usually Pat Gale sends this, like, whoever the clerk, in this case, Pam, she sends this as a draft, like a week before our actual
I
meeting.
just didn't have time to do it a week before, sorry. This is a draft right now.
Take it home.
Well,
We decide tonight.
I was going to ask people to vote on it tonight, yeah, read through it.
Make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
A second.
What's today's date?
I need to read it.
Okay. No, it looks good to me.
Do have one complaint. To set up these tables, we're gonna have to do it a little different. I think 2 tables this way here, sit on either side, because you have, no.
Oh, I know, but this is why, is I'm trying to stretch these, that's why I do it this way, but
Yeah, no.
just sit next to me.
Yeah, okay. No, that's fine, but I still feel that 2 tables this way here, we'll be able to face each other. We can actually get our
Okay.
across that way. This way here, see, I don't have a problem. You guys have no problem hearing me, but I have a problem hearing you.
All right, fair enough. Feel good?
We're going to be looking into upgrading the AV in this room. And with that said, is it possible to get speakers in here? Or would that create a sound problem with the Zoom?
So I think it depends on the new system that we would ultimately purchase in terms of the feedback. So, I mean, I think, yeah, it's not a bad idea, but the interaction is, so I think it all depends on what we purchase as a new, your whole system. We've been using for the past, over the past year now, Logitech. But Logitech has these pods are not practical whatsoever. And
I mean, you've seen what Taunton has.
yes, so right now we're looking into Cisco equipment. Not Cisco, the food supplier, but Cisco.
CISCO.
Yes, it's a technology entity and, to really look at technology that will do this whole room. So the audio, but also the AV will intertwine with the Channel 9 and so forth as well. So like, we're looking at doing that now, but, yeah, so based on what we actually land on, then we can assess the compatibility with speakers and so forth.
Thank you.
So I have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes from May 23rd. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Our next meeting date, if we stick with the fourth Monday of the month, would be on July 25th, 6 PM. That works for everybody.
I'll make a motion.
And a second?
It doesn't work for me, but that's okay. Don't schedule for me. Yep. I'm gonna be on vacation.
Why?
All those in favor of July 25th, say aye.
Aye.
I did want to ask while we're talking about that is, do you want to take, we don't have a lot of time, I mean, because probably by then, this survey will be, well, actually, meeting in July, I'm not sure. We'll have to talk to Beth, but when she wanted to get that survey out, but we'll see what we have. Do we want to take that opportunity to invite either Mike Thibodeau or Bill Abel? The two landowners on Route 44.
Oh, Bill Mariano.
Bill Mariano, actually, I was asking you. If that be, Joel, do we want to talk about asking them to care to come to our July meeting?
That'd be excellent.
Okay.
They have said they would be interested.
Okay. So, do you mind reaching out to them, or do you want?
No problem.
Okay, all right. So I think that's it, unless anybody has any last minute items to bring up. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Second. Actually, you're not a member
I'm
yet?
not a member, right?
Oh, yeah, so I need a second. Second, Patty. Get that fixed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you for sticking in. It's 8:35.